I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. As we recover from the virus and as we restart the economy, the question is raised, what about the lost revenue from the months spent not shopping, not generating sales tax, not filling the treasury of the states and the cities? Adam Schuster, Senior Director of Budget and Tax Research, is here to comment on one state among many that is pointed to as a state in arrears before the virus because of unfunded mandates to the unions, etc. This is the state of Illinois, Lincoln State. Adam, a very good evening to you. I come to you with a news item, and I wonder if it connects to the calculation you and your colleagues have done about what needs to be done about Illinois' shortfall because of the virus. This is from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Chicago. Ken Griffin, Illinois' richest person and the founder and CEO of the Citadel investment firm, has donated $20 million to a business group fighting Democratic Governor Pritzker's push in Illinois for voters to approve a proposed state constitutional amendment that would shift Illinois' flat-rate income tax to a graduated rate system. I take it that this is part of the effort by Governor Pritzker to make up for the lost revenue. Will it do the job? Good evening to you.
Good evening. Well, first of all, I should mention at the top here that Governor Pritzker, himself a billionaire and also one of the wealthiest people in the state, has already donated $55 million of his own money to pushing this tax increase. So it's true. There was just a donation on the other side, but there's a lot of money going into this, from Pritzker, who's a billionaire and the sitting governor of the state. And I would say, yes, they are at this point selling this as one way that they hope to make up some of the lost revenue from the recent downturn related to the coronavirus. But this plan is something that the governor campaigned on back in 2018. It's something that he's been talking about doing for a long time. And the bare bones of it is our state constitution has a flat tax guarantee, or what you could call a proportional rate guarantee, that everyone pays the same income tax rate. So if you make 10 times the amount of money, you pay a little bit more than 10 times the amount of income tax. And Governor Pritzker wants to replace that system with a graduated system that would make it easier for them to raise taxes on everyone over time by allowing them to pick and choose who pays how much in taxes.
All right, so Ken Griffin's against it. J.B. Pritzker's for it. You've done calculations at with your colleagues. Is this the famous raising taxes on the rich and everybody else is protected? Is that what this pitch is?
That's essentially the pitch. They're promising that only the rich will pay more. He's defining that in his initial rate plan as someone making more than $250,000 a year. But I tell people you should put about as much trust in that initial rate plan as you would the initial rates you get from a cable company trying to sell you on their service, right? It's going to change rather quickly given the financial problems that the state has. If you give politicians more taxing power, the middle class is going to be next in the crosshairs. And by the way, proponents of this plan have also publicly admitted that it's step one towards taxing retirement income in the state for the first time. So the amount of money that would be raised from the initial rates on those making more than $250,000 a year is about $3 billion. He's promising only about $100 million of that will go to pensions, which is the state's largest debt problem. The rest he wants to spend, essentially. But the rates that it would take to actually raise enough money to pay down that pension debt would need to raise all Illinoisans' taxes by around 21%. So that's the fear, is not what the initial rate plan is, but what comes next.
This is bait and switch. He's saying that he's going to close the budget that has famously, I mean, it's famous now, right? Illinois is always cited as unfunded mandate superstar. So he claims he's going to close the budget somewhat with this tax increase, but he can't. $100 million doesn't do it. What is he going to spend it on? Does he talk about it?
I mean, not in specific terms, but that's one of the things that I think voters in the state need to know and should be wary of. Is they're promising that it's going to solve the pension crisis. It's going to spend more. It's going to allow them to spend more on education. It's going to allow them to close the deficit. That $3 billion has already been promised to like a $15 billion hole.
Right.
So clearly it can't do all of the things he's saying it could do. And the reality is that it would be thrown down the same black hole of debt and deficits as all of our tax dollars until they get structural spending reform and fix the actual problem.
Yes. Most recently I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and he said, it's terrible when liberals say they want to pay more taxes, because any amount of money you give to the government guarantees you're going to be deeper in a hole. I mean, this is, it's meant to be witty. I understand that. But it sounds to me like that's what's setting up here in Illinois. It reminds me of Zero Mostel's idea from the producers. You promise 100% of the profits to so many people that you have to make sure the play fails. And we can guarantee that Illinois is going to fail at this. So, since he's not going to close the budget with $3 billion, you've calculated what he actually needs to do. What is the tax increase that would actually answer the question that Governor Pritzker hopes to answer?
So under the just to solve the pension crisis, just to put enough money annually in to stop the debt from increasing and pay it off over a reasonable period of time, say about 25 years, he would have to raise all Illinoisans' taxes by 21%, and that's under the same brackets or the same proportions as his plan. That would cost our state economy about $22 billion in output per year, according to our economic impact analysis, and about 130,000 jobs. So it's absolutely insane the type of tax increase that it would take. But if this amendment is approved, they will be able to change those initial rates with a simple majority vote at any time. The people won't get an opportunity to vote on the rates again. They're just giving them the single, thumbs up or thumbs down to changing the Constitution. And so, we know that the size of the problem is such that the middle class would be guaranteed to pay more, and they've already said they would be coming after retirees as well.
And does Illinois have a supermajority similar to California, or are the Democrats and the Republicans balanced in some fashion?
No, they currently have a supermajority in both houses.
So, therefore, what Governor Pritzker wants, Governor Pritzker gets. There's no resistance from the state legislature or the Senate.
For the most part, I would say that's accurate. There is a second power source here, which is the House Speaker Mike Madigan, who's been in office since 1973 and has been House Speaker since 1983.
And the possibility of Governor Pritzker winning the down payment on his dreams, the $3 billion, is it a strong possibility? I note that Ken Griffin's against it.
I think right now it's an open question. The polling shows that voters are about a dead heat on the issue. They're very split on it, and just since the pandemic, I think support for the tax increase for the progressive tax plan seems to have actually gone down. And I think that there's a few explanations for that. There's a massive corruption scandal going on with our state politicians, which also might not be news to a national audience that Illinois has a problem with political corruption. But there's also the fact that people recognize a recession, one of the worst economic crises since the Great Depression, is the exact wrong time to raise taxes on anybody. And this tax plan wouldn't just impact the rich, it would also hit about 100,000 small businesses in Illinois just as they're starting to get their feet back under them on the other side of this pandemic, just as we're starting to recover. And that's the wrong time to hit job creators with a tax increase and make it so that they either can't hire as many employees or have to pay their employees less.
I also mentioned the news here in the East Coast is of disorder in Chicago, especially along the Magnificent Mile, that suggests that those businesses are not reviving immediately. Is that accurate, Adam, that Chicago is now having difficulty generating tax income?
Chicago is having great difficulty. The city of Chicago is facing about a $2 billion budget deficit over 2 years, which is a record.
And so, therefore, Governor Pritzker's problems are also to be compounded by your greatest generator of taxes, which is the high-end stores in Chicago. They're not predicted to come back quickly.
That's right, and I think if what we want to do is foster an environment where they can bounce back quickly and where they have the best chance at succeeding, despite the odds being stacked against them. And hiking their income taxes is definitely the wrong way to do it. What we should be talking about is ways that we can actually reduce their tax burden, reduce their property taxes, which are the second highest in the nation, and allow them to prosper.
Adam Schuster is the Senior Director of Budget and Tax Research at the Illinois Policy Institute, reporting right now about Governor Pritzker's ambitions and the limitations of the virus. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.